point out that there should be something in my home.
This could ruin Vegas. This could be the end. Steve Wynn helped build Las Vegas as a visionary. Wynn Resorts is helping undo Las Vegas as an overlord that's going to try to control your guest experience to the point where no one is going to want to come here. If what they want to do is what they really do, you're going to have social media light up on fire. You will have people permanently quitting Las Vegas and finding alternatives. I went through the 23-page report and document after Wall Street Warlord kept shouting it in my live stream last night. I do live streams every single night. Let's talk about it right now in this video. My name's Steven. I'm not leaving Las Vegas. I'm a Vegas blogger, and it is scary what they're putting into this. Like, share, subscribe. The video is somebody who you're concerned about and who might come to Vegas, and maybe the only option they have is the Wynn and the Encore here in town. This is long. This is just 3 pages of my talking points that I came out with. As I said, well, usually I just try to go off the cuff, but this is way too full. So like, share, subscribe, give a comment, share this video, hit the bell for future notifications. If you want to be in the credits of the video, head over to Patreon. If you guys want to get early access to the big production style videos that I do, go there too. You can get something on Teespring, helps the channel, or just go over to Facebook group Not Leaving Las Vegas, or just, you know, like, share, subscribe. Okay, so Wynn Resorts came out with the 23-page manifesto. It was actually good in some ways. The first few pages of the report are harmless enough. They say the good, then we have some of the bad, and then we have the ridiculous craziness, and we're going to talk about all of these different points. So bear with me, this will be a longer video. What is the point of the plan? The point of the plan is to show the public and the city that they can go forward with a cohesive strategy in order to keep people safe. What is the point of the plan? The plan is to instill faith and confidence in our local governments in order to show them, it's my neighbor walking his dogs, it's in order to show them that they can do something good, but it gets crazy. So the good in the plan, simple enough. Concern for local hospitals. They point out in this that they are concerned with local hospitals. They're also concerned with surgeons and people who do elective surgeries that can't do those surgeries right now. And they point out that these people are losing tremendous amounts of money. It trickles down into the economy. Working hard with local hospitals, that's another good thing to monitor the situation. However, they could always put their logistics from Wynn Resorts into that right now without even operating and help spread that data to other governmental authorities without having to open up and do all of this craziness that they're talking about. The plan would have hopefully a trickle-down effect in the economy by operating the resorts, having some people come in, small businesses can slowly open, and people that work outside of the gaming sector can get back to work. And they are trying to offer up correct health measures, standards operating procedures, SOPs for all of their employees to try to flatten the curve and get back to business, but not as normal. The bad. There's some really bad stuff we'll touch upon in this, and this is what I'm talking about with the guest experience being ruined. They are going to require a see something, say something mentality for all of their employees, plus trying to get guests to do the same thing. So if you're in a property, you have allergies. I have allergies every day. There's all sorts of allergens in the desert. There's literally a product called Las Vegas Allergy Mix. It's a homeopathic for people that come here and develop them. Lots of allergens. I'm sneezing in the casino. I'm sniffling in the casino. See something, say something dictates that I get taken aside. We'll talk about the mandatory screenings in a few minutes. These are non-medical professionals. I'm not a medical professional. The guy that's running the blackjack table isn't either, so they're requiring that. Sanitization procedures that they have in place here are largely defeated if an employee comes into contact with something within the 60 minutes that they're supposed to be constantly washing their hands, sanitizing, and making the guest experience kind of crazy. But the crazy thing about this video, or about this document, excuse me, the crazy part of this video is the guest experience, okay? I have bullet points. I'm trying to look at the camera as much as I can, so I will hold these up here so I can look at them and the camera at the same time. Number one, excessive sharing of the guest's information with the Centers for Disease Control and the Southern Nevada Health District and possibly other local health authorities, hospitals, and whatnot. Even in the event of a suspected case, we'll get to that in a moment, how they are going to secondary you like you're crossing into another country or like if you're suspected of a crime. The guest experience is going to be very crazy. Upon arriving at the hotel, doors will be limited, and all guests will be greeted by their own personal security officer. This personal security officer will help in the screening of all guests. Now, there's going to be temperature scanners at every single door. You've seen these in the media, I'm sure. It looks like an infrared thermometer. They're looking for people to have 100 degrees or further to get them into the secondary. We'll talk about data collection, what they're doing with your data, sharing of your data, refusal. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Like I said, this video is long, but if you want to get to the good stuff, you got to get through the not so interesting stuff. So security guests greet every single visitor. All guests are screened by security. All guests are given a hand sanitizer kit and a mask and a COVID awareness card. So you're now walking around in the casino. You might have a camera, you might have a phone, but you're now carrying all these extra things in the casino. There will be no more valet service because they don't want their valets getting into the car of somebody who they don't know who they are, obviously. Guests are allowed to bring their own vehicle in, but the valets won't be, or there won't be any valet service, so that doesn't matter. Nobody's touching anybody's vehicles. Elevators are not going to be carrying more than 4 guests, but there will also be an elevator operator. It sounds like back in the old days where they had an elevator person and he would say, 5th floor, women's lingerie, men's shaving needs, and press the button, and they're going to be sanitizing all of the elevators. But I think the elevator thing is kind of strange to me. I've never been in the elevators at the Wynn or the Encore. I'd be curious to know how social distancing will work with 5 people maximum in an elevator car. We'll get to what happens when a guest tests positive or has symptoms, because they're never going to test positive at the hotel. They're not doing actual tests at the hotel for this thing. It's just going to be, hey, we think you have it. And then all the you-know-what hits the fan, and that'll be crazy. Non-invasive cameras will be placed at all entrances and possibly in other spots of the resort. All entry ports to be monitored. Any person with symptoms that have symptoms, coughing, sneezing, hey, seasonal allergies, hey, that's what happens. Hey, you know what? I went and I went to the animal habitat at the Mirage across the street, and now I'm sneezing. Too bad. If you have 100-degree Fahrenheit temperature or over, or you're sneezing and showing symptoms, you get secondary screened. Now, I have been secondary screened a few times entering into the United States. In Mexico, into the United States, and in Canada, into the United States. Secondary screening with immigration people, not fun. Not a good thing. You feel like a criminal and you're in a little back room and they're asking you a million questions. Well, there's another consideration here. Hot weather for people who aren't acclimatized to it, or people who are on medications unrelated to anything to do with the CV. Hot weather, oftentimes, people don't sweat enough. Some people's sweat glands are weird. They get an elevated body temperature. So some people run a hotter body temperature normally. Some people run a lower body temperature. The whole 97 point whatever degrees is something that we talked about 30 years ago. It's not necessarily everybody's body temperature. So I'm interested to know what happens if a guest is exhibiting a temperature a little bit hotter because of those reasons. They are then asked one of 2 things. Number 1, sir, come on over here with me with this nice security officer. You're going to be secondary screened. We're going to ask you a million questions about where you've been, what you're doing, and why your temperature is elevated. Or they don't have to do that. Well, we'll get to that in a second, what happens if they don't do that. I think you know the answer, but you don't know the whole answer. Secondary screenings taken to isolation for a second separate scan with a temporal thermometer on your forehead. Temporal thermometer is shown to be more reliable than other thermometers, but still not completely reliable, by the way. Guests who are refusing to do this are completely denied entry, and they're given a CV card, and they're said, hey, you should probably go check out these health facilities right here. You might have this, you might not have this, but thank you so much, you're not coming back in here. So if a guest does have an elevated temperature, though, they're going to be denied entry, directed to medical care, provided resources based on CDC and Southern Nevada Health District. Security will then collect the names of the guests and their driver's license information and the names of anybody else that they're traveling with, the rooms that they're staying in, the friends' rooms that the friends are staying in, and all of the other information they can possibly have, their social shares, their driver's license number, their passport ID numbers, or their guest folio number, or their employee ID number if they're an employee working for the hotel. They're denied if they don't cooperate with this as well. Security then is immediately notifying the Southern Nevada Health District of guests with symptoms and guests who are refusing to cooperate. So if you came here and you said, you know what, I don't need this BS. You know what, I am hot all the time in the desert. I'm from Alaska, I don't like the heat. They're still collecting your information as best they can and sharing and passing on anything they do have, including, who knows, they didn't say if it's camera footage and stuff like that, to the health district to report you. What? Yeah. Guests with elevated temperatures cannot return until fully medically cleared. Now, what that means is, I guess, in order to enter into the Wynn Resort, you're going to have to go to a third-party doctor and get medical clearance and come back with some kind of paperwork, I guess. An ambulance will be called if guests do not have their own vehicle to take them away from the property. Ambulance costs thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, in this country, the ambulance comes out. They're all private. Some people think it's a racket, but the ambulance comes, takes you somewhere. You can refuse the ambulance, but in this case, you cannot refuse the ambulance, it seems. You can leave in your own car. If you have your own car, they'll let you just drive off into the sunset. And you'll go, well, it was a nice trip to Vegas where I had a big hassle. Incident reports are filed with the guest's name, folio number, driver's license information, whatever other pertinent stuff. If they try to return to the property, they're going to refer back to that incident and ask for medical clearance in that case. So even if you didn't have any issues, you were just super hot that day, or you had some allergies, or well, it's all about the temperature. So I guess it's just whatever reason. And you don't get medical clearance for the CV, you're not coming back to the Wynn property. When guests are cleared to enter into the hotel, they pass all that. Great. Welcome to the Wynn, sir. You're going to be given a bag when you're checking into your room with face masks, hand sanitizer, CV awareness cards. I don't know if that's necessary, if at this point you don't really know what CV is. You either woke up from a coma, and I'm glad you're with us now, and the world has changed, my friend, or you just, there's no way you don't know about this, right? Now, in the guest rooms, Amazon Alexa. This is not a new thing because of CV. This is something that the Wynn has had in the rooms for a long time. They started installing them in 2016. The only issue I really have with this is that I will refer you to an April 11th, 2019 article from The Independent in the UK, which showed that Amazon admits that their employees listen to Alexa recordings. Oh, it's okay though. It's only because they want to make sure that they can make sure Alexa's getting the right commands based on accents and everything. Wait a minute, don't we have a lot of people coming to Las Vegas with different accents from all around the world, speaking different languages? This seems like a potential for massive amounts of data mining, but I don't want to impugn myself. They may never do this, and they may never listen to Amazon recordings, but Amazon themselves have said that they have, so what is going on in those rooms? We are hyper paranoid here, aren't we, my friends? Constant reminders from the hostesses and managers to stay apart from one another. I'm sure you've had this experience in a store recently. You go up there, you're in the line, and the nice lady has to tell everybody social distancing. Now, if you don't remember social distancing, we're going to make sure that the hosts and the managers and everybody on the staff is constantly telling y'all got to stay away from one another. You don't have to go away, but you just got to move apart. Move apart, everybody. And we're going to get to what security's responsibilities are in a minute. And the security people, you know, the ones carrying the handcuffs and the mace and the weapons, that's the one that bothers me the most. Anyways, waiting for guests to be seated in peak times will not happen. They're going to wait. You're not going to get into the hotel, into the amenities, into the guests, into there at peak times. They're going to have to wait a lot longer as we make sure that we have less people in the venues. And then we'll have complete removal of the lounge seating. No more lounge seating. No, sorry, you don't have any more lounges because we're not responsible enough to socially distance in that case. Even though you're now wearing face masks, have hand sanitizers, you're carrying preparedness kits through the hotel as though you're being like evacuated in an emergency situation because a hurricane or a natural disaster is occurring around you. It is a natural disaster, but you're in a hotel there to have a good time. And that's the point. This is about the guest experience, right? Food. Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's really no more perks in the tableside dining experience. There will be no more tableside cooking. So you know when that guy would come out or that gal would come out and they would flambe something in front of you, that's not happening anymore. No more baked Alaska at tableside. No napkin service, so they're not going to place the napkins on your lap. Now you may be paying $150, $200 a person for these experiences, but this is not going to be happening for a while. No self-serve fountains anywhere in the resort. So if there was some kind of dining area where you can get refills on a drink. You're going to have to go to somebody. They're going to give you individual cups. No more self-serve service. Room service is going to be served as though you're in a prison situation where when you order room service, it comes up. They call it in-room dining in the report. They knock on your door. They place everything down, and then they leave, and then you get your food. It's like, imagine the Wynn could install little like slats in the doors where you just pull your tray through. But it's not like it used to be. You know, you order something, room service comes in. This is going to cause a lot of income loss for some of these people that are on staff that rely on things like tips because they're no longer interacting with the guests as well. So it's negative for the guests. It's negative for some of the employees. But yeah, we're not going to have that situation. So they bring it up. They knock on your door. They run away. You bring it into your room. When you're finished, you are expected as the guest not to eat a big giant meal full of thousands of calories that's beautiful and delicious and then nod off watching a movie for the night. You have to put that back outside and then call to inform the desk that that meal is done and they can take everything and clean it and sanitize it. This is not all negative. The sanitization aspects are good. They're excessive, and I didn't even go through them because that's in the good of it. But this is the craziness that's going to ruin the guest experience for you. Room service, removal of room service in-room items. So, you know, if you had the money to do the mini bar, there will be none of that. You'll have to call room service to get it, which will be a cost thing for the hotels. They're going to lose money off of that because instead of you being so starving after a late night on the strip and pulling something out of the mini bar and not caring that it costs $15 for an item that should be $3, they're not going to have that. You can call them. They'll do the same thing where they place it in front of your door and they run away and then you take it into your room. But yeah, the mini bars are gone until that for further notice. Suspension of the buffets entirely until further notice. We have some more information, by the way, in another video doing a news update. Caesars has their buffet. They're even retooling the Bacchanal buffet. So the Wynn is just suspending theirs. Extreme changes in food, utensils, condiment delivery, everything's individually wrapped. Now, when I go to the Philippines, they've been doing this for a long time. When you eat at a restaurant, oftentimes all the silverware comes wrapped in napkins, but these are going to be, you know, sanitarily wrapped, straws wrapped, everything wrapped, food items wrapped, plates wrapped, everything is wrapped. The Wynn is turning into a wrapping machine. They can do well at Christmas season when they have the gift wrap at the malls, I guess. For the theater experience, they will run the shows, it sounds like. They're going to use social distancing. They're going to force the ushers to crowd control you. So, you know, if you're walking in there with your significant other or your friends and you're real excited, you have to sit further apart and the usher will make sure you're 6 feet apart while you're excited with each other, I guess. Performers in the show will be required to bathe in chlorinated water from the Rev show. The Rev show has chlorinated water, so chlorine, I guess, helps this. Showroom food will follow all the other food protocols. So you're going to have no fountain drinks, reduced things. I mean, this is nightclubs. No nightclubs until further notice. Security will result in security. Security will now help enforce social distancing as well. Done with my notes. Security will now help enforce the social distancing. So in the midst of them meeting guests at the door and giving them COVID preparedness kits and doing all this stuff, they're also going to be making sure people stay further apart, making sure people do all that kind of stuff. And if you don't cooperate with security, then you're asked to leave the property and they take your information the best that they can. And I'm not sure, because I've said this for a long time, when you're in a property in Las Vegas, you are technically on private property. They can ask you to leave. They can ask you for their ID. They can take you into the secondary. They can temperature probe you, scan you. They can do all this stuff. But doesn't it just destroy the Las Vegas experience? Isn't this ridiculous? We all want the casinos to open, but I don't know if anybody wants it to open like this. It's like people want to have an Elvis Presley stamp, and they had them vote back in the day, like 20, 30 years ago, on which Elvis would appear on the stamp. Do you want to see Elvis when he was in the later parts of his career or in the younger parts of his career? And people wanted to see Elvis, young Elvis. Overwhelmingly, the polls were in, the votes were in, and people voted for young Elvis on the stamp because people want to remember the experience of seeing Elvis when he was on, Ed Sullivan. They want to see that young, vibrant thing. People want a vibrant, awesome Las Vegas experience. They don't want to be herded through there's a video game called Half-Life 2 where you're thrust into this dystopian world. I'll put a clip of it up on the screen here. And this is what it seems like the Vegas experience at the Wynn Resort could possibly come to. Now, this might not amount to much because if Vegas reopens like Macau, China does at 20% capacity, it might not be a big deal to socially distance people, but screenings, secondaries, collecting people's data, getting their driver's licenses, giving them to the Southern Nevada Health District, giving them to the CDC, giving them to the local health authorities, even if they're suspected, and sharing of data, and taking away all the food options and not allowing. Oh, there's even more in this document that I could go through, but I didn't want to make a 45-minute long video because I thought it would be boring like watching paint dry. But something has got to give. I appreciate that the Wynn is trying to, see, seasonal allergies. If I was at the Wynn Resort right now, itching my eyes because there's all this dust out here in my front, then they would take me into secondary, take my ID and collect me. There's got to be some happy medium, doesn't there? There has to be some way where we can look at things. I have a theory on what they can do on the resort side of things. Maybe I'll put it into a video or a live stream, but there has to be a way to meet each other halfway so we don't walk around like we're all carriers of things and we don't get... I don't have a lot of words at the end right now. All I can tell you is this. If this plan goes through, there will be other casino properties that do less than this, and they will advertise it. When Dunkin' Donuts was competing against Starbucks back in the day to have premium coffee, they were the anti-Starbucks. They were like, hey, we call our top coffee a large coffee. It's not a grande. You don't have to know what a venti is. We're just making you great coffee. So I do suspect that some of these other casino properties will come out with their own protocols and measures that will not be that excessive. And consumers will make an educated choice as to what they might actually do in the new modern era version of Las Vegas. This is not the norm forever, I'm sure. Eventually, maybe there'd be some vaccine or some hyper-sanitization protocols that do amazing things and possibly, I don't know. There's some things that I'm hearing that I can't talk about on camera right now. What do you think? What's your take on all this? I know the video is 20 minutes plus long. I know you guys might have sat through for the long haul, and I really appreciate it. So make sure you like, share, subscribe the video, hit the bell for notifications. If you want to be on the credits, go over to Patreon where you get other little perks and benefits as I can do them as fast as I can. If you guys want to send a message, you can email me. You can do whatever you got to do. But if you come to Vegas, be safe. But maybe that is excessively safe. That document, which I threw on the ground in the middle of this video. All right, I gotta go. Now's the time of the video where I say 3, 2, 1, click. We'll see you in the live stream tonight. 3, 2, 1, and click.